Good morning, everyone. It's Helen here with Health and with Helen. Thanks for joining me. Obviously, we are in a different atmosphere today. I felt like we needed to mix it up. You know, the office is great. However, I think we need to start getting into some new environments. I'm ready for some newness. I don't have a production team yet, so that's obvious. However, we're going to do our best to make this quality. I did just have a birthday, my 45th birthday, and I got some really cool new tools here. So I'm gonna start using those for some of our videos as well, which I hope that you'll enjoy. I think I'm gonna enjoy it a little bit more so that I can break the habit of just being in one chair, one spot for all of my videos. But today I just propped it up against a nice little vase, and I'm hoping that it's gonna work for us. I just needed a change of view. And so I'm sitting here with my puppies enjoying the morning, and I just wanted to talk about encouragement today. And I'm always talking about doing things afraid because I think it's so important. So I want to encourage you to take a step and do it afraid. Okay, so recently my mom just did something that blew my mind. I was so proud of her because for 5 months she has been fearing going on a trip. Okay, we already know that fear is from the enemy, right? That the enemy wants to paralyze you. He wants to stop you in your tracks so that you don't live the life that God intended you to live. So if he can keep you in one spot, not doing anything, not being productive, not being fruitful, that's where he's going to try to keep you. And of course, he would love for you to miss out on every opportunity that God has planned for you. Well, not us. We're not going to do that, right? We're going to take that step and we're going to do it afraid. And I'm going to share some of my own stories of different things that I've done where I had to do it afraid. And I'm so glad that I did because I would have missed out on so many different opportunities and so much life had I not done these things afraid. And my mom, she just recently did something, which I was so proud of her. Okay, so we already know I've made a video about this. And if you haven't watched it, please do. But my mom has COPD and she was diagnosed with COPD at least probably 12 years ago-ish, somewhere in there. I can't be exactly sure to the date, but she is thriving. You should see what God has done in her life. Okay, well, from the minute my mom found out that she has COPD, she quit smoking. So she quit smoking, which I already know has saved her life. It has added years onto her life, and God has blessed her. So she is so healthy. And my mom, she actually started smoking when she was a young girl, like really in her teens, and smoked for many, many years. And so for her, obviously, to quit was a huge thing, and to watch how God has come in and heal her body. So several years ago, my mom was in and out of the hospital. She would have exacerbations. She was having to use oxygen. She was having to do all sorts of different types of medications and treatments. And today she is functioning, she's thriving, she's traveling, she's fit, she's cleaning homes, she's healthy, she's doing amazing. And there was a time period where there was nurses while she was in the hospital saying, this is it for you, you're in stage 4, this and that, and you should see her now. She's healthy and amazing. So guys, right there, that should encourage you, that should give you hope, because just seeing the power of what God can do if you don't give up and you have some faith. And I always talk about this because it's true. I've lived it. I'm seeing it. I'm watching it firsthand. So my mom, over the last 5 months though, she has been a little bit nervous about traveling, like many of us, right? Because of the pandemic and everything going on. So my mom hasn't traveled since it started. She hasn't been on a plane. She's taken a couple little road trips here and there, but that's it. She's like, no, it's probably not safe. So my brother and his wife decided hey, we want to take a big trip. We want to go across country. We want to go to the Gulf Shores. We want to go to the Florida Peninsula. We want to take this big vacation, and we want you to come with us. And of course, my mom was just like, that sounds amazing. And then the next day, it's like, whew, I don't know that that's safe. I don't know that that's something I should do. So here comes the fear. Here comes the enemy trying to paralyze you. No, you shouldn't go. You can get sick. What if, you do get the corona, so all of these things start coming into her head. So she already goes into panic mode, and then you're going to have to wear a mask, and you already have a hard enough time breathing. And will you even be able to make it on these flights? And it's a lot of traveling. And so for 5 months, I've had to hear her like talk fear. And so she would speak fear over the situation because, there were things, there were like legit concerns, but then I was speaking faith over it. Like, no, you're going to go and it's going to be amazing and it's going to be wonderful. And little by little things have just been falling into place. They obviously pulled the mask mandate, which for her, she likes because that gives her a better ability to breathe, right? Breathe free air and stuff. And so that was one of her concerns. And so, but every little thing has started to fall into place for her. And I'm like, no, you need to go. You need to enjoy yourself. And up until the night where she flew out a few days ago, it was like, I don't think I'm going to go. I don't know if I'm going to go. I don't know if I'm going to make it. And so we were over there packing and putting all this stuff in her suitcase. And, obviously on one note, she was kind of feeling fearful, but on the next note, she was praising God that she was getting to go. So there was this battle going on. I think we can all relate to that, right? This battle between us where you're like, I really, really, really want to do it. But then there's all these things right here that are kind of like pulling at me, trying to stop me. And so that was her thing. Well, guys, you will be happy to know my mother actually boarded that flight, left our little city of Casper, and she is now on the Gulf Shores having the time of her life. She is loving it right now. I actually just got the phone with her. She's on a beach. She's laying there. She just went down. She's on the 18th floor of this big giant condo with everybody. It's like full of glass all the way around. She gets to look at the ocean every morning. And I mean, she's just on the beach by herself, sitting there relaxing in the sun. And she says she is just praising God for the time that he has brought her down there. And then he got her there safely. And then she's just having this moment. And not only that, I want to encourage anybody who has COPD or has asthma, and you probably already know this, but this is so huge, that her breathing has been 100% better now that she is at sea level, that she is in that humid environment. She is thriving. Like, she's like, I can't believe it. She's just like, my oxygen is like 95, 96, 97 on its own, no assistance. I'm doing wonderful in this atmosphere right now. And, we've always talked about probably moving, down to Florida or somewhere like that here in the next few years. But I think she's like, I want to move tomorrow. So just watching like how God has blessed her through this whole thing. Every flight went completely smooth. She didn't have any problems whatsoever. All the fears that were bombarding her, none of that came to pass. She got there safely. She's had yummy food. She's been able to shop. She's enjoying the beach, and her health is amazing. And had she listened to those fears, she would have never, ever gone. She would have never had this experience. She would have never made these memories. And that's what the moral of the story is. It's just like, okay, yes, was she fearful? Sure, she was. Of course, she could have these concerns, but just the fact that she did it afraid, now she has made a memory of a lifetime. And really this gave her confidence and like just to encourage her to say like, hey, I can do this. And maybe even, show her that I can even move to this place if I really genuinely want to. If this is a place where I'm going to have better air quality, if I'm going to be able to breathe better, if I'm going to be able to live longer, you get to a certain point in a certain age where it's just like, you know what, let's do it. So I'm really, really excited for her. I wanted to share that, but it also goes to like some different things that I've had to go through in my life where I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna have to do this afraid. There's been so many, but I think of the opportunities that I would have missed out on. One that comes to mind for me is obviously starting my own business. I had been a barista for a lot of years, but to really just take that leap of faith and just say, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to start my own business. I still like to this day, when I think of some of these moments, I get those butterflies in my belly where I'm just like, where I was so nervous because you're kind of like, am I going to be successful? I put a lot of money into this. Are people going to like the coffee? Are they going to like me? Are they going to come? You have all these different concerns, all these different fears that would try to stop you. And then at one point you just have to say, I'm just going to do it. The world's not going to end. I'm not going to die by trying this. Even if it fails, that's okay. And I think that's a huge part in trying new things, is just saying, you know what, I'm gonna do this right. And even if I fail, that's okay. And the older you get, the less you care about those kind of things. Genuinely, I can promise you that, especially when you get in your mid-40s, you're kind of like, okay, yeah. You're definitely a lot more humble by the time you're in your mid-40s, trust me. You're like, okay, I failed, whatever. I failed many times and people have seen it, and that's okay. And God knows my heart. He knew my intention, so here we are. And so I think he'd rather have you try and fail than never try at all. I genuinely believe that. Now, I'm not telling you to be careless or foolish here. I mean, you definitely, obviously have to pray about it. You have to have, I feel like God will put a flow on you. You'll know when you're supposed to do something because it's that exciting fear, but it's not that like that fear where you're just like, that inner like, oh, I know I shouldn't do that. It's completely different. There's a flow. You almost can't stop it. God just kind of makes it just keep moving along, even though you're a little bit scared and nervous. And so starting a business. Another one would be is I remember when I started as a flight attendant. Okay, I'm going to go back to the early days, my 20s and stuff. And it was super scary because there were so many different things. One, I was just a kid, and you were having to go to these big interviews in front of hundreds of people, multiple interviews in front of all these different people, stand up, talk about yourself, sell yourself to them. And then not only that, then if you got hired and you were blessed, then you had to go to these trainings where you'd be gone in these big states for multiple weeks at a time. One time I was in Chicago for 8 weeks. Another time I was at Minnesota for 6 weeks. I've been all over for flight attendant trainings, Denver, several weeks. So all different types of places with all sorts of new people. So that in itself can be a little scary, from all different cultures and nationalities and just different things, and then you're having to live with these people for weeks and weeks and weeks. They just put you in a room with 3, 4, 5, 6 people, just depending. And then you're to coexist, live with these people, and go through the hard trainings. And then once you get through the training, then it's the real job. It's the real deal. Then I had to go out there, and you had to do these things called IOEs, where you'd have to fly. Like I had to fly to Paris. And I remember that morning I called my mom, and I was just like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't think I can get on this plane. I don't know that I'm ready for this job. And I was freaking out. And then she's just like, well, you can always come home. And that comment right there, my mom always comforted me with that simple comment. Well, you can always come home and you'll be okay. And that always gave me enough of an encouragement to say, I can always come home, but I'm going to still take this step forward and try it. But even if I fail here, I can always come home. And that always helped me. That morning, I remember when she said that, well, you can always come home. And I was like, okay, I can come home, but today I'm going to get on that flight and I'm going to fly to Paris. And so for me, it was just like, okay, I always knew that I had a little bit of a backup here just in case. And I feel like that really does help to have that kind of encouragement, like standing behind you. And I'm so blessed that I did have a mom and dad who encouraged me like that. I got on the plane to Paris. I'm so glad that I did, because years later I was flying. I ended up being a lead flight attendant. I got to go to so many beautiful, amazing destinations. And none of that would have ever happened had I said, I can't do it, and quit right there. I'm going back home. No, I can't do that. So I took that step of faith, and I'm so unbelievably glad that I did. And I can still remember standing in some of my flights, like on board, when you'd have like 100, 200, 300 passengers, sometimes depending on the aircraft you were on, staring right at you as you stood there, and you'd have to do that briefing, and you'd have to have it memorized. Okay, things have changed. A lot of the times, they have like videos that play for them now or whatever, but I worked for some like little airlines where, United Express type airlines. So the tinier planes where you had to be up there like, and then I worked for bigger airlines where I still had to do the spill, and you had to have it memorized, and all these people are staring at you, and you're just like, I hope that I don't black out here. I hope that I don't forget what I'm supposed to tell them on the safety briefing here. And I remember having that feeling every single time I closed that aircraft door. It was like the aircraft door was closed and it was my time and all eyes were on deck. And I would have that same fear, but it was just like, okay, God, show up. And here I would go and make the spill. And I think for the most part, it was pretty darn good, okay? You got to practice though. Practice does make perfect. And there were many days where I was writing it out and practicing in front of the mirror over and over and over and over. So some of these things you just can't just jump into, but God will give you the grace to do whatever you need to do. And last but not least, I'll share this like little story because it's kind of funny. It goes to my wedding day. Again, doing it afraid. Okay, I know that there's a lot of jitterbugs out there when it comes to getting married and taking that leap of faith and making that huge decision. I mean, for me, it was huge. And I remember, sorry, pardon my puppy in the back, but I remember that day before I was about to walk down the aisle, I was like, all my friends was like, are you okay? Are you okay? And I was just like, I don't know. I can't breathe. And so I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And I start having a panic attack. Well, here's the funny part. My husband, he's a fireman, right? So of course, all of the groomsmen in the wedding are firemen. And then of course his son, but here they are. And they actually, when you tell somebody like firemen that you can't breathe, they take that literal. They take it literally. And so here I am like, I can't breathe. And they're like, you know, they're going into like save me mode. And I'm like, hold on here. I can breathe, but I can't breathe. There was a difference going on there. And so after they sort of got me calmed down and everybody got me calmed down, it was like, okay, Helen, you're either doing this or you're not doing this. And there I went. I went down the aisle and, you know, here we are today. So I just have to laugh. But I mean, I know that we've all had fear. I know that we've all went through things where we're just like, I was really scared to do that. You did it, and then you're so glad you did it. And that can be anything from my little stories I'm sharing here with you today to much bigger things, you know, which I've went through as well, like having to have major surgeries. And I know that for surgeries you're scared to death and you have to go through all that healing process, but the outcome is hopefully usually really good. I know that in all circumstances, I'm speaking for myself, but a lot of the major surgeries that I did have, I'm so glad that I did have them because I'm doing so much better because of it, even though I was afraid to begin with. So anyways, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thanks for sitting with me in the living room. I hope that this wasn't too off-putting for anybody because I'm going to keep trying different locations. So let's just roll with it. And I hope that you have the best day ever. Bye.